Okay, so hello Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of the above. It's Darrell, and here today we have Assata Richards, who's running for City Council District D. And this is going to be an ongoing conversation throughout the course of this campaign. It's my goal in the future to interview all of the candidates. And ladies first, Assata Richards, one of my favorites. Why are you running for office?
Well, thank you for having me.
Okay,
And hello,
okay.
Facebook, social media world. I'm running for public office at this time because I believe that I've had some incredible experiences in the district, in the communities of District D, and I've had some amazing community support. As I've said over and over again, this community really made me the successes that I have in my life, and I'm really grateful. And so when I was asked by my community to take this leap and to run for city office to represent District D, I felt really obligated and I felt honored to be asked by some of the people who have done a lot of work in the community. And so I'm ready and I'm excited.
Okay, and then you're one of the youngest people that are running for office citywide in the whole slate. Like, how do you feel that will impact this race, and do you think that's and how are you working to like combat that, if so?
Well, I think I'm prepared. I think that I've worked in the community since I was 16. My first involvement was with Ada Edwards and the Free South Africa campaign, and I've been involved ever since. I've gotten a considerable amount of education. I think it's prepared me, and serving as a vice chair of the Houston Housing Authority, which is a $180 million agency, I think I've shown that I can be a bridge and a strong advocate for the community. And in terms of the youth factor, I think it's great. My community has been excited because what do we hear over and over again? We need more younger people involved. And here I am ready, excited, prepared, and they've been nothing but supportive to me. So I think it's an advantage, actually.
And I'll admit, like at the beginning of the race, I assumed that there would be a Dwight Boykins, Georgia Provost, just ride to the end. And I'll be honest, when campaign finance reports came out, I was like, oh, okay, Assata's like really out there doing stuff. Why do you think you've been so successful with your fundraising?
Well, I think that I have an incredible story that people want to get behind and support. And I think, again, I've shown at the Houston Housing Authority that I have what it takes to be a very effective leader in local government. And so people have been amazingly supportive, and they've been willing to invest in who I am and what I'm willing to do on behalf of the community. And I want to say, finally, I've just worked really hard.
Okay. Very, very good. We were talking earlier, and you were talking about the fact that you're actually out there knocking on doors and talking to people. A really interesting thing that I'm going to ask, has there ever been a time along the way that really stood out from you that made you say, you know what, this is why I'm in this?
Absolutely. And Jerry Davis told me this happened to him too. I was out in the South Park area, and it was a Sunday, and it was mosquitoes, and it had been a hard day, and it was struggling, and it was like, I'm gonna do this one last street, and there was a gentleman in overalls sitting in the yard, and I went up to him and I started dialoguing with him, and he said, I'm gonna vote for you, and I have 5 more votes for you because you're the first person that's ever come to my door and asked me for my vote. And he said, I'm sure they've been out here, but I just never had the opportunity to be asked personally for my vote. And I started crying because it was like, wow, it's the story of my life. When you feel like you can't go one more step, just go one more step because you don't know what's behind that next step. And so that's always my you can do it Assata story.
And so talking about steps, of course, the mayor, we have a strong mayor system, so the mayor sets the agenda, and whether that will be Mayor Parker or Ben Hall who wins this election, if it were up to you, what would be the first thing that you would tackle if you could set the agenda? What would be the first thing that you tackle for the city of Houston?
Well, Houston is touted as being a leader on all indicators. Economically, the housing market, the economy, everything. It's the coolest, one of the coolest cities. And I want it to be one of the most progressive and compassionate cities. So what I would tackle is the municipal courts and the use of jails to really what I see as debtors' prisons for people. And I would have a more compassionate, intelligent response to issues related to municipal violations. I think we should think about this. You know, a inspection sticker that you didn't show up for in court shouldn't end you up in jail. I think that's not a humane, compassionate way. So I would say, Houston, let's lead the nation and being intelligent and compassionate to our citizens.
Okay. And then another thing, this whole bond situation, I was against the bond initially. Let me see. Yes.
Apologies.
Oh, I got it. I was avidly against the HISD school bond. Where did you stand on that? Where did you stand on the school bond issue?
I think the issue with the bonds is that we've lost faith in the municipal system and in the bond process. We have not gotten what we were promised, and we have not seen the benefit of us voting for bonds. And I think there's a lot of discontent about bonds because we don't know and we don't have a strong commitment to this is how the money's going to be spent, and this is how we're going to ensure it's going to be fair and equitable, and there's going to be a considerable investment in our communities. So I think it's the issue that we continue to be taxed and we continue to buy into a system that doesn't give us equal or adequate return.
Right.
So I think there's discontent, and so I'm not for any system that there is not a clear agreement with the voters on how the money will be spent. And I know that organizations like TOP said that about the HISD bonds. We need to talk about who's going to get this money, how it's going to be spent, and how it's going to employ the most economically disadvantaged in our city.
Okay. And speaking of TOP, what are some of the other organizations that you really want to work with if you were to win this election? Who are you looking to partner up with as a city council?
Well, I'm looking to partner with all local groups and organizations because they're on the front lines. When you look at our communities, you know who really stands in the gap between people and communities. And so my job, one of the things I talk about is community building and building our capacity. So I'm going to get more people involved, and I'm going to strengthen local organizations and groups in terms of resources and in terms of participation, because if we had more people involved, then groups could do more. So I'm going to have an open door policy. I'm going to make organizations know that they are a priority. We're going to use our campaign to go back out. Like, we got people voting for us. We're going to use our campaign and our volunteers to get people involved in civic associations, groups, and clubs, because if it works to get on city council, it can work to strengthen the community.
And then another question. You're obviously running for office, and I asked a similar question. I asked at one of the forums, I said, which other candidate would you vote for if not yourself? So I won't ask that question, but I will ask this.
That was your question.
That was me. That was me.
And if you remember, I was the first one to answer because everyone else was hesitant.
Right. You, I want to ask you this. Who is it that first comes to mind in your community that you feel should run for some office? Someone who really stands out, who's really like down in the trenches, who hasn't run yet, that nobody knows about. Who's that person for you that's like that? Who?
Well, you know, I can't really say who that person is. I want to say that I think there's a bumper crop of young people, professional students in this community who are capable, passionate, and committed. And so I want to say that, like, you know, no one would have thought of Assata Richards a year ago, right? My name has just popped up on many people's radar, but that's not because everyone doesn't know about you doesn't mean you're not there. But I do want to use this time to plug a young man, Joshua, who I know is putting on a youth summit this weekend. And I told Joshua, he's a student at the University of Houston, I told him I wanted to see him in my class. And I'm his newest fan because I think Mr. Joshua is intelligent, he's capable, and he's doing things in this community. And so political office is not the tool and the vehicle for everyone, but it is an important one. So I think I want to say leadership is an open door policy, and everyone can be a leader, but most important, everyone can make a contribution, because Ella Baker said, strong people don't need strong leaders.
All right, well, you heard it here first. This is the first interview, ladies first. I've talked to the other candidates. This will be the first of, I guess, 9.
Okay, so is this my time to say Facebook me?
Yeah.
Follow me on Twitter. That's Assata Richards for City Council. That's Assata Richards on Twitter. So we're definitely on the social media world. We try to stay up and abreast and keep you up and abreast on everything happening with the campaign. And so I look forward to the conversation via social media.
That works. Boom.